how AI is disrupting business. Welcome our speakers for how AI is disrupting business.
It is always a pleasure and an honor to be in a room filled with beautiful Black and brown women. So a shout out again to that last session. As we've been at Salesforce and in tech, we've seen a lot of layoffs in the recent times, and that couldn't be a more valuable session. So I really want to say again, one more time, thank you to those who presented that panel. It's a really, really important topic. All right, well, I'm going to get started with some intros of these lovely ladies. They are so talented that I need to read off how talented they are. I'm going to first start off with April Walker. April Walker is the Senior Vice President of Customer Success at Salesforce. April is a digital transformation expert, a technologist, a board member, a published author, an industry thought leader, and a C-suite advisor. Welcome, April. Okay, moving on to glamorous Candace here. Miss Candace Mitchell-Harris is the CEO of Maivana, and she founded this company in 2013. Candace's work has been featured nationally. Can I say that again? Nationally. On CNN, Marie Claire, Essence Inc. magazine, Black Enterprise, Business Insiders, and more. We salute. So we've got just amazing women here on this panel. We're talking about AI. AI is everywhere currently today. And we are really taking fast and furious in the tech space. It's sort of the new revolution, if you will. Although we have seen little bits and pieces of AI along the way, it's not new, but it is a blast right now, right? We're really going at it. And we have some questions for the two panelists here. We're going to start with April. How do you see, you work in industries and you've worked across different enterprises. How do you see enterprises using AI today? Like, what's the big deal? Why are we going forward like this?
Well, so a couple of things. First of all, we haven't even touched the surface of how AI is going to change. Can you hear me now? I have a big mouth, so I'm trying to not scare everybody. So AI, it's interesting. We are just at the beginning stages of how this transformation and disruption is going to really yield and rear its very interesting head. And I don't know who said it earlier, but it's one of those things where, and I came through, again, I've been in this business, this industry for over 35 years. Where's Kimberly? Did she leave? I think she might have left. Okay, so she and I, we've been trailblazing and hopefully have these strong shoulders that many of you have been able to use to catapult you into this wonderful world of tech. But the industries that all of us either work in, support, or amplify, or are consumers of, will all be touched by not just AI, but generative AI, ChatGPT, robotics. I actually am a graduate of MIT, and I tell you, this stuff was way back. It started a long time ago. What we're seeing now in companies is this disruptive model, this disruptive mindset where AI can take on the human form, can take on the human mindset, learn behavior, learning models, machine learning, language learning models. This disruption is going to change not only how industries operate, but how we operate with them, for them, and how they operate and engage with us. So the disruption is just beginning. This is just the precipice. I actually was in the .com era, and there's nothing more, and I worked for AOL. Some of you weren't even born at that time. Jeez. I will tell you this. We went from the .com era to Bitcoin, crypto, and I was like, it's no big deal. Not until the .com era have I ever felt this type of momentum and change coming. And someone said it earlier, if you don't get on board now, you're gonna be left behind in a really, really different way. So it's just the beginning, Cindy.
Awesome. Thank you. Candace, small business. Talk to me about your use cases and how you're seeing AI affect small businesses.
Yes, well, what's interesting is over 15 years ago when I was in college studying human and computer interaction, data analysis, I knew that technology would disrupt every industry, and one big driver of that is personalization. And so as I was thinking about how can I apply everything I'm learning to a problem that I could solve, I literally thought to myself, what is the biggest problem that I could solve right now? And it was literally my hair. I was going natural. I was using all these products. I was using my roommates' products, my friends, classmates, watching YouTube, trying everything. And my hair was drying out, breaking off. And it was affecting my mood when I was going to class. I didn't want to go to class. And so when we realize how much our hair is a part of our identity and affects our sense of self, I was literally looking in the mirror like, I have to do something about this. Like, why is it so much trial and error? And so I started researching the science of hair and realized that your hair is as unique as your fingerprint. That's why what works for my hair is different from yours, different from everyone in this room. And so it really requires a personalized experience, not just the, being a product junkie or buying every product that you see marketed. And so I thought to myself, ooh, if I could create an app that could tell me exactly which products are best for my hair, I can not only solve my problem, but every woman in this world to make them feel their best confident self. And then on top of that, I can disrupt a multi-billion-dollar industry, which is the hair care industry, right?
That's what we're talking about.
That we drive the most money in. Black women spend 9 times more than the average consumer on hair products. And why is that? We have the most complex variety of hair textures. And so, doing the research, as I realized that to really understand how your hair reacts to products, you need to know the condition of it on the microscopic level. So I started reaching out to some professors. Can I use some lab space? Ask, believe, and receive, right? So professors opened their doors. They're like, hey, it seems like you got a great hair idea. Started looking at hair strands, and I was amazed. I became a hair nerd at that moment, combined with being a computer nerd. And next thing you knew, I was pitching my first invention competition at Georgia Tech, and a year later started the company. But that was the beginning of personalization for the hair care industry, which we became the pioneers of. And so when you look at how personalization, now it affects everything, right? AI is affecting every department in your business. So we're now at that point where we really need to start thinking about AI from a transformative standpoint for several reasons. One, you can bring new technology to market, right? Myavana Hair AI is the first textured hair analysis technology that we invented with our brains, with a team of computer scientists, cosmetologists, us really figuring this thing out. We've analyzed over 2 billion hair strands and have all this data about how it reacts on hair, right? So what problem can you solve using personalization, but also automation? I wanted to automate the process of knowing what products to use. No more trial and error, no more guesswork. Right? Automation, know what products you need instantly. What ways can you automate things in your business? What ways can you automate things in your industry, right? So the whole purpose of AI, I feel there are good and bad sides. We're going to talk about the bad sides. But I believe that for every evil, there is a good intention. There is an equal or more powerful good intention. I think the good intention and purpose of AI is to redeem time. Because how many of y'all are exhausted? Let's be real. We are overworked. People are tired. We're doing so many manual tasks. Those things can be automated, all right? AI now has more computing power than the human brain in some ways. So some things like we just won't be able to do fast enough, but don't you want your time back? Don't you want to shift your work activity to things that are more meaningful, things that are in alignment with your purpose? So I believe that that's the shift that we're in, but I want you to know that it affects every department of your business now. Human resources, customer service, finance, everything. So a lot of the tools that we're using, you'll now see these new AI features, right, that are now available. But even in preparing for this talk today, I said, we got to take this 1,000 miles even further. It's going to change the way we do business from here on out. So I think that's what we need to be at the forefront of.
Well, that's a good segue into what we really want to ask you both to address next. All of that goodness that you just defined, how do we encourage people to embrace AI? Because there's a lot of fear around AI, and there's a lot of fear that I'm going to lose my job. You just talked about getting time back. A lot of people don't like that. That makes them feel uncomfortable. I know at our company, we talked about how, the sales people don't need to write their own briefs anymore. AI is going to write your brief. So we don't need you to spend 2 hours. And people are saying, well, wait a minute. I want to spend that 2 hours because I want to get paid for that 2 hours. So what do I do? So April, start with you. Like, how do we get people to embrace it? What does it look like? What do they do differently, and how do they leverage that extra time?
I think the first and foremost thing you have to do is not be afraid of it, right? Not be afraid of it. How many of you in here have ever coded before? Any language? Raise it high. That's a really good amount of people. Pardon me? MySpace days. Oh, wow. Okay, now you're really going back. Yeah, yeah, okay, we'll talk. I don't even know how you know about that. I will say this, you can't be afraid of it because it's here and it's not leaving. It's only going to grow. It's only going to expand. Every single industry, every single thing that you touch, you hear, you see, you taste is going to have an influence of AI. Every company, every institution, from education, from nonprofit to large enterprises to public, it's all going to have an AI-infused influence, full stop. So it's here, get ready, and be prepared. There are a couple of things that companies are going to need to do, and I know there is this common sort of narrative that AI will take jobs. Guess what? Some it will. If no one's told you the truth, I'm gonna bring it to you as my 21-year-old nephew says, bring it 100. He would think I'm so cool right now. It's going to be one of those things where AI is, as you said, it's going to help to alleviate time, but it's also going to allow for significant growth in markets, significant profit growth. You want to be on the front end of that. You want to be on that journey too. So do your companies. So do the industries. And I don't care if you're an entrepreneur or if you are working for a nonprofit or you're working for a large enterprise. Every industry, if you're in healthcare, think about all of the things that happen in pharmaceutical companies, in clinical care. All of these things in some form or fashion will be touched by AI. If you are in the legal profession, you're a paralegal, for example. If you are an attorney, as you said, briefs can also be not only written by AI, they can be modified, they can be edited. There are so many ways that AI is going to touch every industry. And what companies have to do now is get prepared. And the preparation includes a few things. One, making sure that it has the right partners to help them to build AI models in their companies. They need to have the right people, the right skills. What does the skills look like? Who are the people in your organizations that you can upskill for certain types of roles? And someone asked me last night, well, should I be a coder? Yes. Everybody in this room should be a coder. But guess what? It's not hard. It really isn't. With low code, no code, how many have heard of that before? Right? Now I'm a geek and a nerd. So I read, teach, and also code. What I will say is it's not difficult. It's actually a lot of fun. And you don't have to be the premier developer. But what you want to do is find that niche in your company, specifically where you are within a company. Again, if you're working for a large enterprise and you know there are some interesting things that are going on around AI, some projects, get on board with it. If you identify some needs, some gaps in your company, bring it to your leadership and say, hey, I have something that I'm thinking we should do, and we can do this around AI. We can do this around ChatGPT. We can use generative AI, because every company right now is trying to figure out, how do I get out in front of it? Most of you know that many of the industries we work in have all sort of espoused to be intelligent manufacturing, intelligent healthcare, intelligent cosmetics. All of those things are going to have an AI influence. So what you want to make sure is that you are also along and you're prepared for that journey too, as is your company.
Yeah, I definitely want to echo what April said. Come on to the development side. I think that, yes, we have to face the reality that job displacement will happen, but I think it's an opportunity. I think it's an opportunity to shift. come to the development side, because here's the thing. I believe that no matter how powerful AI is, artificial intelligence cannot replace divine intelligence. That is what each of us have, right? Packaged in our unique DNA and our unique purpose, right? So what we're called to create, AI can't replace that. But you can leverage AI to what I call to serve the world at scale, right? Imagine what you're called to do, your purpose. How could that manifest into a company that can now serve millions of people, right? Through your marketing expertise, through your tech expertise, through a unique solution to a problem that you can solve, right? That was my dream. When I put together my first computer and discovered what Microsoft was and operating systems and Bill Gates, I'm like, oh, I want to create a Microsoft that is on millions of computers that are helping people in a very specific way, right? That's what we have the capability to do now. So start your own AI company. There's no reason why you can't. And the good thing is now there are lots of AI engineers in the market. It's a free market right now. And we're in the new era, like at the forefront of it. So put your stake in the ground, start an AI company, because we have insight into unique pockets of the world that a lot of companies don't, right? When I was pitching VCs in the beginning and I couldn't raise any money because they were old, bald, white men who were looking at me crazy, me talking about the natural hair movement, right? They had no insight into our whole world, right? So what can we bring for the culture, right, through AI, right? How can we solve the unique problems in our underserved communities? That takes very specific tech expertise, and that expertise is in this room. So what are you going to bring to market would be my question to you. No matter how these shifts impact you, I think you have the opportunity to build something great out of it.
Wow, did you guys take all that in? Awesome, awesome. Well, as we take a deeper look into AI, we also know there are ethical implications, right? People are concerned in every part of technology, and even today we have hackers, so we're going to have bad actors. So we want to talk a little bit about hearing from you both on what are those ethical implications and how do we guard against those?
There's so many. I mean, there's so many. But it is worth confronting because, again, for every good intention, there's evil, right? So the first major thing is racial and gender bias, right? Actually, one of my co-founders is leading the charge for AI justice right now. Her name is Dr. Joy Bolamwini, and she's about to release a book called Unmasking AI. And what it talks about are the harmful implications that come from this beyond bias, just uncovering everything. And so we have to really hold companies accountable. There are several women leading in AI right now from a regulatory standpoint who are fighting a very important fight. That's number one. Number two, data privacy and consent and monetization. Angela Benton started Streamlytics for that very reason, right? Do you know how much of our data is being monetized without our consent? And how much data these companies have on us? So there needs to be visibility, there needs to be accountability and ownership. So those surveillance, targeting, I mean, we could go on. And so that's why I feel, and there are some governmental actions happening right now, like the Algorithms Accountability Act is in motion. But what I feel now, knowing what we have the power to do as programmers, because when I took, my required course was cognitive science at Georgia Tech. We had to study how the brain works so that we know how to mimic the brain, how to manipulate it, but also how to cater to it through user experience. So what we have the power to do is alarming. And so I personally feel that we need to have a license to build now. Similar to how, doctors take the Hippocratic Oath and lawyers have to pass the bar, we should be held accountable too to do no harm and do no evil, right? So even when we talk about autonomous AI, those calculations, do you know how accurate and intentional that has to be to prevent accidents and bad things happening. So I think that those are a lot of what we're battling right now. But I also think that, and if anyone could help me put this into legislation, let me know. But we need a license to build, because what programmers have the power to do is very serious. And so I know that a lot is happening in that space, but those are just a few.
Thank you. We're getting close on time, so April, if you have a few words, I want to leave a couple minutes for questions.
So just very quickly, something that we talked about earlier, and that was everybody, learning the coding and all that stuff. You do not have to become a developer. Let me just say, don't leave here thinking that's your new mandate. My ask of all of you is to stay curious, remain curious, be willing to open your minds up to AI, be willing to be the evangelist in your own company, the companies you work for, making sure that you're raising your hand and saying, hey, I want to be a part of the next evolution because I know it's here and I know it's only going to expand. Things like ethical AI is real. And let's be clear, the more profitable AI becomes, the more it will be infused in your private lives. The data is king, data is queen. A lot of companies today struggle, a lot of industries today struggle with data. Without the right data house, if you will, the right data structure, the right data architecture, if you will, AI can't really make the impact that it will make. So you want to be a part of that as well. So I just want to make sure no one leaves here thinking, oh God, I got to quit my job and become a developer. That's not the ask. Just remain curious. Look for opportunities to learn as much as you possibly can, because again, it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to grow more.
Do we have time for questions? Awesome.
Ladies, my name is Naya, and thank you so much. This question is for either April or Candace. I am on team B of not really being a techie, and it's very overwhelming for me. And I feel like I need more homework. I've been taking a lot of notes. I have to create my bad bitch list and do some more homework. What homework assignment could you give someone like myself who is on the fearful side of AI? And as I want to enhance my skills, that you think companies would, at minimum, want to know AI programs? Like, I just need to know 2 or 3 basic ones.
Yeah. So first of all, let me be clear. I get it. It is a bit overwhelming, especially if you're not in the tech space. Do not allow that to sort of bring you into this paralyzed state that you don't want to then venture. Don't let it overwhelm you, because you don't need to do that. There are so many free learnings programs online. LinkedIn alone has a ton of education and learning courses you can take for free. Now, obviously, you got to pay for your LinkedIn subscription, but okay, so what? There's also Khan Academy, Udacity. There's so many different places you can learn, but first and foremost, do the fundamental. Just be able to talk about what it is, right? Be able to define what it is. And in terms of programs in your own organization, find out what they have, and if they don't have any, ask them to create them. Ask for partnerships with other organizations, learning organizations, but first and foremost, do not let it overwhelm you. You got time. Again, I'm going to say this again. Remain curious. Read. Become a voracious reader of it. Study it. Look for those free opportunities that are online, because there's so many of them, and I can't stress this enough. If your company doesn't have any programs for you to learn about AI, ask them to create it and or sponsor you somewhere else to learn it.
So I also am very in the kind of this is a new world for me camp. Thank you for all that you shared. I want to speak specifically to what Candace brought up about just, the ethics piece and at which point we might cross that point of no return, because that is definitely the spirit in which I'm trying to just be very cautious and careful as I'm getting up to speed on all that's capable. I try not to freak myself out too much by reading about all the happenings and the theories in USA Today and so forth, but I'm really curious, just with you being more enmeshed in that world and being able to speak to this more knowledgeably, how confident are you that now that the Pandora's box is open, that it can be walked back to have that licensing component so that people can earn their ability to create and not abuse it, and then have us, living in a simulation of iRobot?
I know, right? Do you feel like you're in the Matrix?
All the time.
I was watching that movie. I'm like, man, this is prophetic. So that's such a great question because we have to stay on guard, in my opinion. So for the non-techies, another area is the justice side of AI and the social impact side, because the need is becoming greater. Again, the capabilities are there. And I personally view it as a battle. And we need more people enlisting in the army of good AI to fight this battle, just to be perfectly honest. The only way we can overpower this is by having more coders who are computing for good. That was literally my senior capstone class, computing for good. So understanding who is going to fight for good in this world and who is going to help advocate for that. All industries have advocates, right? Who are fighting the good fight. So that is going to be more of a requirement. It does take governmental leaders as well. That's why our political awareness and involvement is very important. And so I think, again, we just have to not be afraid, right? There's nothing to fear, because if you do your part, I think that we can really at least put some accountability and measures in place, just like any other industry, right? Transportation is regulated, right? Environmental regulations should be a lot more, but other regulations are in place, right? So we're now at that tipping point where we need more leaders to rise up. Not only the developers, the leaders, right? And it takes all of us, and I'm glad we could bring awareness and exposure, but I think that if you're curious about it, if you're either curious about it or you're fearful about it, there's something for you to have a role in. So continue to kind of focus on that. And get used to all the tools. Just dive in and start using the tools. It's fascinating. There's so many tools that can be helpful to you in your everyday life. Like there's one tool, Video Insights, that will summarize a video for you so you don't have to watch it, right? Like think about your daily life. Think about how your personal life can be improved. I'm working on automating my personal life and nurturing relationships. And so the more you explore, the more you're like, okay, this AI thing isn't too bad. And so get your feet wet. Use the tools that are helpful for you. Hopefully Myavana is now one of those tools. Go to myhair.tech. You can use Hair AI, solve all your hair problems, and bring some goodness to the world and figure out your place to do that. And then that fear, I think, will go away for sure.
Thank you all very much. Hopefully you enjoyed this session.